Jessica Sclarain. I think I pronounced that right. Sclarain. Excuse me, Jessica. Jessica Sclarain, the Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate in Delaware. She is running for a seat that is currently held by Chris Coons. Jessica, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me, Francesca.
I apologize for bumbling your last name.
You know, if it hadn't already been my whole life, I would maybe get upset, but it's fine. No sweat.
Francesca Fiorentini. I mean, I get it all the time. I'm just like, sound it out, just read. Right. Jessica, you're running to be the Democratic nominee for this Senate seat, going up against Chris Coons. You're 34. Tell me why you decided to jump into this race.
Yeah, I mean, the core issue is that we need to break the current system of power in our country and completely rebuild it. And we do not currently have a senator in Delaware that recognizes that problem and is focused on fixing it. I mean, my exposure to that predominantly has frankly come through the workplace, of being subjected to jobs where I didn't make a living wage, of jobs where I didn't get health care or health insurance even, having inconsistent schedules, and frankly being assaulted and harassed by the people in power in that workplace. And I come from a background of nonprofit volunteerism. You know, that was how I wanted to give back and try to frankly prevent other women and girls from having these experiences. Right. So I volunteered as a tutor and a mentor here in Wilmington, Delaware, where I live for many years. And then I joined the board of a nonprofit called Girls Inc. of Delaware that allowed me to, again, give programming to make girls like strong and confident and civically engaged and fight for their rights at a state level. But even with years of that work, just feeling like no matter what, there's always another girl who's gonna come through that door, because we're not changing the conditions that she lives in. We're not changing the neighborhoods that she comes from. We are not getting her or her family more resources. We are just solving, or not barely solving, we're treating symptoms without solving the root causes of what require all of this philanthropy and charity and nonprofit work. And I really just recognize that, you're right, I'm in my mid-30s and I don't wanna look up in another 10 years and still have these problems be the ones that we're facing, like wealth inequality and the climate crisis and racial inequality. Like, we have given the people in power time and they have not made enough change, and it's time for a new generation to take over.
Yeah, that is a powerful reason to want to actually run for office. Being in the nonprofit sector, I know it's like banging your head up against a wall. So you're running to unseat this Democratic incumbent, Chris Coons. What's the biggest challenge for you as a progressive, as a woman, against someone who's got 52% approval rating, which isn't that great, but it's still over 50%. What are your challenges? What's the things you're looking at right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, the biggest thing, of course, is name recognition, right? Like, that goes a long way in elections, but that's the work that we've been doing since we launched this campaign in November. We were out week one canvassing and every single weekend, multiple shifts, knocking doors and talking to voters. So we have been making progress on that issue since we launched. We've built a ton of momentum even before COVID hit and pandemic hit, that built a strong foundation. So we have continued to do that voter contact through this pandemic and our inability to knock on doors via phone banking. And we're still turning out dozens of volunteers. We are making literally tens of thousands of calls every single week to reach Delawareans, because that's a way that we can win in a state like Delaware. Like, we believe this is the most winnable Senate seat for progressives, because Delaware is small. It's smaller than most congressional districts. Like, we're talking about, tens of thousands of votes, not hundreds of thousands of votes. When you look at the race in Colorado, ours is a much smaller scale. So we have the ability to really make a difference with a smaller amount of investment, even from just manpower and dollars.
For sure.
And that's what we've been working on, is building up that volunteer network and building up donations. Of course, we always need more of that, but that's where the work has come from. You make a good point.
And a fairly solidly blue district. So you're basically saying it's a solidly blue state. It's a small state. It's a winnable state. So this is where progressives like yourself should be channeling our energy.
Absolutely. Like, this is the right investment to make, because we heard from a few candidates who came so close in the last few weeks that they just hit the momentum a little bit too late. The volunteers showed up a little bit too late, and we don't want to make that mistake with this race. We have 2.5 months. Our election is September 15th. Like, yes, if you show up in August, I will take you, but I want people to show up now, because we have the infrastructure in place to accept those volunteers. If we can get, for example, 30 people making phone calls in this campaign every single day, we can call every single Democrat in Delaware every week. Like, that's the scale that we're talking about. So this is a really great place to invest. And we're seeing that we are already in Chris Coons' head. He is absolutely on his back foot. He's got third parties running attack campaigns against me right now. He earlier or late June, he was running push polls attempting to paint me as extreme, even though the things that we are running on, the majority of Delawareans agree with. $15 minimum wage, Medicare for all, a Green New Deal. These are all things that are supported by a majority of Delawareans that are policies that he opposes. So we have him, I think, running scared. He's frankly polling what his policy position should be right now. And we're hearing this from our supporters, like they're reporting, like he's asking me what side of an issue he should be on. So we're even
So you're already having an impact, no matter what happens in September. You're making him more accountable to, like you're saying, these issues that really aren't that radical, like $15 minimum wage. At this point, we know that should probably be higher. Exactly. One of those things, Chris Coons is like, he's number 4 in the Senate in terms of Democrats who lead the Senate. One of the things that he voted on recently was to remain in Afghanistan and to not pull out troops from that war. However many, 20 plus years that
20 years, more than half my life at this point. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So what would you have done different? Would you have voted to pull troops out or keep them in?
Yeah, I mean, a huge piece of my platform is fighting for peace, not war, right? Like, I would absolutely vote to end the wars that we have been in forever. I mean, this is a defining issue for people in my generation, is that we have had fewer years of our life that we weren't at war than the years that we were. And I think a lot of people have recognized that the way that you actually keep our country safe is by investing in a broader concept of public safety and public health, creating more stability and by investing in health and education and social programs in our country, rather than solely putting all of our resources into a military that more than half of that money just goes to extremely powerful defense contractors. It's not even going to benefits and pay for the people who are in uniform. It's going to incredibly moneyed interest and defense contractors.
And so you say you're running on Medicare for all, a Green New Deal. What's an issue that you're most passionate about out of your entire platform? What's the one that you're like, this is it? If I get into the Senate, this will be my baby.
Yeah. So the thing that I hear the most from everyone in Delaware is healthcare. Like, it is a system that is completely failing Delawareans. Delaware has the 8th highest number of people who are suffering under medical debt right now. Almost 30% of our state is struggling to pay medical debt. Like, it is an issue I hear on every single phone call. And I know that is an issue that a lot of candidates are championing right now, but it is the one that I see that will make the biggest impact in Delawareans' lives, because it comes up on every single conversation.
Nice. All right, so just we only have a little bit of time left, but I wanted to ask you. You are running for a seat that Joe Biden used to hold before Chris Coons. Or before that, right? And you are also someone who said early on that you believed Tara Reade's allegations against him. And I know that was not an easy stance to take, but when you think about it, it kind of is, right? How are you feeling now, and how are you feeling about this position that I think many people are being put in, where they want to get Donald Trump out? But they also don't want to vote for somebody who has a record of sexual assault. Where are you at on that? And do you believe that we should still be voting for Joe Biden after all this?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree we have to get Donald Trump out of office. But my issue, particularly with Tara Reade and so many women who come forward, is that we lack a system of justice for these issues. And I thought that's what we were fighting for with Me Too. Like, I thought what we were saying with Me Too was women deserve to be heard and they deserve to have some sort of structure and system to find justice. And we didn't get there, right? But that's what I thought we were going to keep pushing for. And that was sort of why I wanted to make sure we had that conversation, because we can't simply say that the way to handle these allegations is to throw them to the court of public opinion and people on Twitter doing their own research into, frankly, not even the person that that made the allegation, and trying to undercut people, rather than focusing on what can we actually do as a society and as a country to fix this rampant issue of sexual harassment. I mentioned that is what I experienced in my very first job as a teenager. Like, very similar story. Right. I don't know people who don't have these stories. So I really think we need to continue that fight to figure out what does justice look like when it comes to sexual assault.
Sure. And yet, in addition, potentially voting for Joe Biden, is that the strategic move? Pushing him on that issue?
Donald Trump. I think, we have to get rid of Donald Trump. And we have to keep fighting for the issues and policies that we care about, though. And we're gonna have to have that fight no matter who's president.
Thank you so much, Jessica Scarrain. Best of luck. Let us know how we can support your campaign or how people can get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, this is the most winnable Senate race in the country. So you can go to justfordelaware.com to find out more about me, and donate at justfordelaware.com/donate. We always need volunteers, so that's justfordelaware.com/volunteer.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jess. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.